Hello everyone, Silent here and welcome back to another Minecraft video. Today I'll be showing you how to get every single new block, item, and mob in the 1.17 Caves and Cliffs update. The 1.17 update adds 101 new blocks, items, and mobs to the game. There is so many things to keep track of and so many different weird ways of acquiring these items in your world. Some of these aren't really that straightforward, so you might find yourself stuck trying to acquire some of these items and just not knowing what you need to do. So that is the purpose of today's video, to help you get every single thing from this update, and that way you can enjoy it in its fullest. A little disclaimer here at the beginning of this video. This is recorded on Bedrock Edition, so everything here is 100% accurate for the Bedrock Edition. However, most of this should also be relevant to Java Edition as well, since these updates are very similar on both the platforms. So no matter where you're playing in 1.17, you can enjoy this video, get some information out of it, and then enjoy all these lovely new features in your Minecraft world. Just to demonstrate the sheer number of blocks and items that 1.17 adds, I have not one but two double chests for you here. As you can see, the first one is completely full of all of these different items, and then of course there's all of these blocks as well, and the additional items, spawn eggs, and the other versions of the copper too. So let's just hop into it with the new mobs, where to find them, and how to get them. Starting off with the beloved ram-friendly goats of the Caves and Cliffs update. These guys will spawn in any of your existing mountains or extreme hills biomes that you already have in your world. You do not need to explore new chunks to find these guys. You can lure them using wheat, and you can also breed them together as well. There's no way to tame them or ride them, but you do have a chance of getting a screaming goat from breeding them, and the screaming goats have some beautiful noises. Keep in mind, the goat horn is currently not in 1.17, and we'll likely see that being added to Minecraft in 1.18. You can find the glow squids in any part of the ocean, or really any water source, as long as it is below ground. So basically, there needs to be any form of solid block above the water, and that will allow a glow squid to spawn there. These spawning rules are subject to change in the 1.18 update. If you kill a glow squid, they will drop some glow ink sacs, and these things are surprisingly useful for a couple of different things. So if you combine an item frame with one glow ink sac, that will give you a glow item frame, and then any item that you put into that will be permanently illuminated, including maps and all kinds of other fun things. You can also use the glow ink sac on signs as well. However, you can only use them if you first click on the sign with another piece of dye, and then clicking on it with the glow ink sac will give you a neon color. Axolotls are another thing that you can find spawning in the waters of your world. However, the water does need to have a solid block above it. These guys are super cute and cuddly and absolutely adorable. You need to protect them with your life and soul. If you click on them with a water bucket, that'll give you an axolotl in a bucket, and you'll notice that the bucket also has the name of the axolotl as well. That way you can tell what kind it is and what color it is too. Now you can actually breed the axolotls by clicking on them with a bucket of tropical fish, and that will allow you to get the babies. There are 5 different varieties of the axolotl, and you can get a rare blue one by breeding them only. Keep in mind that you do not need to explore new areas of your world to get any of the new mobs. All of these guys will spawn in any chunk regardless of what update that chunk is from, as long as the goats are in a mountain biome, and as long as the glow squids and axolotls are in an underground part of water. 1.17 has changed a lot about how ores work. As you can tell, every single texture of the ores has changed, and we now have 8 new different varieties of the same old vanilla ores, including a brand new copper ore as well. So let's talk about copper for a second, and then we'll hop into the different changes to the other ores. Copper ore generates very thoroughly all throughout the Minecraft world. However, it can be found most abundantly around Y level 35 or so, and honestly, you're going to be finding so much of this in your Minecraft world, it's going to become a little bit annoying after a little while, simply because it is just so abundant. Seriously, you're going to be getting more copper than iron and coal, really. So just enjoy mining it, because it's actually a pretty great building block. Wrapping back around to the other ores, as you can see, all of the original ores of Minecraft have now been retextured, except for the diamond ore that is keeping its original vanilla texture, simply because it is such a core part of Minecraft history. You'll You'll also notice that now we have Deepslate versions of all these ores. These are basically exactly the same. However, Deepslate versions will generate whenever you have ores that are touching a Deepslate or inside of Deepslate blobs, and we'll talk about Deepslate blobs a little bit later on as well. So they've also completely changed how you mine ores. Specifically, they changed how you mine iron, copper, and gold ores. So typically, when you would mine any of these ores in your Minecraft world, you would get the actual ore block, and then you would have to smelt that. However, in order to get any of the ore blocks in Minecraft, like these actual blocks, you now need to mine them with Silk Touch. As you can see, they'll drop the actual block item. If you don't mine them with Silk Touch, you will instead get the actual raw ore items, and this is affected by Fortune as well. So you definitely want to use Fortune 3 as your main mining source. As you can see, just from breaking a couple of blocks, we got 4 raw iron, 4 raw gold, and 5 raw copper. Each one of these items can be smelted in a furnace for 1 ingot, so on average, you'll get about 2.5 times more iron, more copper, and more gold if you mine them using Fortune 3, compared to mining them with Silk Touch and smelting the ores in that way. Copper ore and the Deepslate ores, of course, need to be found in newly explored and generated chunks of your Minecraft world. However, all of these other changes apply to your world as soon as you update, including the new ore systems and the texture changes to the existing ores. Keep in mind, you can also now get copper ingots from killing drowns in your world, and drowns will no longer drop gold ingots. To help with inventory management even more, we have 3 new bean ore blocks. We got the raw iron, raw copper, and raw gold blocks, and in order to craft those, all you need is 9 of the raw ores. You put those together into a crafting table, and then you get the block of raw ores, which is really going to help out for the inventory management. These blocks cannot be used for beacons, however, they can be broken down just like the regular iron, gold, and copper blocks. Once you smelt down some copper, you'll get yourself some copper ingots, and those can be crafted into a lightning rod. All you need is 3 copper in a straight line, and that will give you a lightning rod. This will attract lightning in a very large area around it, making it so that you can actually play with fire spreads on and not have to worry about lightning burning down all of your builds. So anytime there's a lightning strike, it will strike the lightning rod, including if you throw a channeling trident at it. Now, this is kind of like a redstone block when lightning strikes it. It hard powers everything in every direction. So as you can see, it actually hard powered this block and powered that redstone. So you can very easily hook this up to a bunch of different redstone contraptions and see when it's thundering to activate like a secret door or other kinds of redstone systems. Keep in mind, the lightning rod needs to have direct sky access for it to work, of course, so as you can see, it works right now. If you put a glass block above it, then it is not going to get struck by lightning. Getting into the actual copper blocks itself, these might seem a little bit complicated, but basically, we only have 4 copper blocks. The copper stairs, the solid block, the cut copper block, and then the cut copper slab. And then we have 32 varieties of those same 4 blocks. Seriously, 32 different versions of the same exact 4 blocks. It's a little bit ridiculous. So smelt down yourself some copper and then use 9 ingots to craft up yourself a single block of copper. You can then turn those blocks of copper into a variety of things, such as your stairs or your slabs or your cut copper blocks, and that is how you get your 4 different varieties. Now over time, as you let these things sit around in your Minecraft world, they will eventually oxidize, and that is how you get these different levels of patina on it until you eventually get this very nice level right here. Now you can actually stop this process from happening by waxing your copper, and that is simply done by clicking on it with a piece of honeycomb, and as you can see, it gets these lovely particles, and that will stop it from ever changing color. If you want to scrape off that wax, then you simply right click on it with an axe, and as you can see, it can now oxidize and get that lovely level of patina. So that's really all there is to it. You can also, of course, scrape the patina off of these. So these ones are currently waxed. If I go ahead and click on that, it is no longer waxed. And now it's down a layer, down another layer, and back to the raw version. You can then wax that, and it will stay that way forever until you touch it again. And now we have some more really beautiful blocks called the Deepslate. There is a lot of different variety to these blocks, and how you get them is by finding them in blobs at the lower parts of your Minecraft world. Deepslate generates very commonly in pretty large blobs once you get down to about Y level 15 or so. It's basically just like another type of stone, really, and you're going to be finding this stuff all over the place. There are three main varieties of Deepslate. There is the normal Deepslate, there is the cobbled Deepslate, and then there is the infested Deepslate. The infested Deepslate and the normal Deepslate look absolutely identical, except this one has a silverfish in it, so you'll want to be careful when mining this stuff in your Minecraft world. Now keep in mind, if you want to get the regular Deepslate, you'll need to use Silk Touch on it, and if you want a cobbled Deepslate, then just use any form of pickaxe, really. The majority of the blocks that you'll be using Deepslate for require the cobbled Deepslate to craft it. I would highly recommend just using a stone cutter when trying to craft this stuff, because that allows you to just skip all of the crafting trees and go directly to whatever you want to craft. Using a stone cutter is definitely the easy way to go, but of course you can use the regular crafting table. It's a 2x2 of cobbled to get 4 polished, and then a 2x2 of polished to get 4 bricks, and then a 2x2 of bricks to get 4 tiles. A couple more crafting recipes that you need to know about. In order to get the chiseled Deepslate, you need to make the cobbled Deepslate slabs, and then you can turn those into the regular chiseled Deepslate. And then of course, to get the cracked varieties, you need to smelt the regular Deepslate bricks in order to get the cracked Deepslate bricks, and you need to smelt the Deepslate tiles to get cracked Deepslate tiles. As you can see, it's kind of a mess when it comes to crafting, and the stone cutter is definitely your friend. There is also the Tuff block, and this doesn't have any form of crafting recipes. It's just kind of a nice block that's in the game, and you can find this in blobs around Y level 15 in your Minecraft worlds as well. Deepslate and Tuff blocks need to be found in newly generated chunks of your Minecraft world. Next up is the Powdered Snow, a block that you can kind of phase through and fall through that is not affected by gravity and introduces a new type of damage to the game as well. As you can see, we are freezing to death over here. You can acquire this really easily in 1.17 by placing down a cauldron in any biome that it snows in, so just any cold biome. You'll need to wait for it to rain/snow, and then your cauldrons will fill up with powdered snow. Click on the cauldron once it's full, and you get yourself a bucket of powdered snow. You can use these for all kinds of traps or decoration. They interact with dispensers just fine, as you can see, except that they currently don't get picked up. That is still a bug. They should get picked up by the dispensers as well. And you can also use this powdered snow to convert a skeleton into a stray as well. Overall, it's a really cool block. This is our first ever non-stackable block in Minecraft. The only way to stop yourself from falling through the powdered snow is to wear some leather boots, and anything that is wearing leather boots or leather horse armor, for example, will not fall through the powdered snow. And this will also keep you from freezing inside the powdered snow too, so basically leather boots are actually useful for once. We now have stalactites and stalagmites in Minecraft, and with that comes the dripstone block, which you can see above, and the pointed dripstone, which is the actual things that create the stalactites and stalagmites. These things are affected by gravity, so if we break that one up there, as you can see, they all fall down, and these things will cause damage to any mob that they fall on, and any mob that falls onto these will also take damage as well, as you can see. To place them, you simply aim at the surface, and then you can crouch to place these, and they won't connect together. As you can see there, there's still a gap. If we would place that normally, then they would actually connect together like so. So there's a little bit of ways to customize your placement of these. Now, you can also farm lava using the dripstones as well. So what you need is a lava source, any form of solid block, and then a pointed dripstone. That'll drip quite a bit of lava into a cauldron, and after a while, that will suddenly have a full lava source in it that you can collect with a bucket. You can also get water this way as well, which isn't as useful, but still kind of a cool little mechanic. You can find small amounts of dripstone and pointed dripstones generating bring in new chunks of your Minecraft world. You can also buy the Dripstone blocks from level 3 stonemasons. As you can see, they sell 4 of these Dripstone blocks for a single emerald, so really cheap, and you can get basically an entire stack of them before they sell out. You can also buy the pointed Dripstone from a wandering trader, 1 emerald for 2 of the things, and of course you can buy only a couple because these guys pretty much are terrible. Fear not, for dripstones are actually a renewable resource. These things will grow over time. However, it is literally like the slowest farm in Minecraft history. This right here is 1,000 times what you'll see in a normal vanilla world. As you can see, they grow downwards from the ceiling, and they can also grow upwards from the ground as well. And you know I'm gonna have a farm releasing for this very soon. Tinted glass is a really nice block that's been added in this update. It's got a beautiful texture, it doesn't let any light through it, and you don't need silk touch to break it. There's only the glass block form, there's no glass panes, and it's a little bit expensive to craft. You need 4 amethyst shards on the outer edges and 1 glass block in the center, and that'll give you 2 tinted glass. So definitely a little bit of a pricey block, but absolutely worth it. And like I mentioned, this block doesn't let through any light at all, so if I plug up this hole right here, as you can see, it goes extremely dark in here, whereas a normal piece of glass lets through all the light in the world. So this is going to be incredibly useful for mob farms and a variety of other situations too. And then we get into the very nice blocks, and that is the Amethysts and the Amethyst Geods. This is kind of a whole other deal as well, but the main thing that you need to know is that they sound pretty beautiful. You can get amethyst by finding an amethyst geode in newly generated chunks of your Minecraft world. If you boat around in an ocean or other watery areas, you'll have a really easy time finding them. Just look for them poking through the surface. They're pretty obvious, especially if you have night vision. So inside of these geodes, you can see that we have an outer layer of polished basalt, another new block, and then we have some very nice looking calcite on the inside, which is another new block, and then finally the lovely amethyst on the inside. There's 2 main blocks in here, the amethyst block and then the budding amethyst block. Very slowly over time, the budding amethyst blocks will grow some of the amethyst clusters, and you can harvest these at any stage with a silk touch pickaxe. If you don't harvest them with silk touch, then they're going to drop an amethyst shard, and of course if you use fortune, then you'll get more shards per harvest. These budding amethyst blocks cannot be collected or moved, so you have to make an amethyst farm inside of a geode. There are 4 different stages of growing amethyst: the small amethyst bud, the medium, the large, and then the amethyst cluster. All of these can be collected with a silk touch, however only the large amethyst cluster will actually drop anything when you mine it with your pickaxe. The amethyst clusters will always drop a minimum of 4 amethyst shards. However, if you mine them with fortune 3, you can get up to 16 amethyst shards. So you do not want to automate this process. You definitely want to mine these manually because you can get a whole lot more amethyst shards for your time spent. Now keep in mind that you can also grow amethyst buds on all sides of a budding amethyst, so when creating an amethyst farm, make sure as many sides as possible of your budding amethyst is either air or water. That way you're not preventing any growth attempts of your budding amethyst. The amethyst shards themselves don't have that many uses, but if you craft them into a 2x2, you can get 1 amethyst block, which isn't too bad. And then of course you can also use them to create the spyglass too. It's 1 amethyst shard up top and then 2 copper ingots below it, and that'll give you 1 spyglass, which of course is a very handy zoom tool because it zooms in super far, and it's actually better than most other fan-created zoom tools. When it comes to the smooth basalt, you get this simply by smelting down a basalt block in a furnace, and as for the calcite, there's no way to craft this, and the only way to get it currently is from mining out the geodes. It is a very nice block, and I really hope we get more variety of this very soon. Probably the biggest feature set of this update is the Lush cave and all of the blocks that they come with. There's basically like 14 different blocks and items that you can get from these. Technically, you can get all of these things from the Lush Cave biomes. However, Lush Caves generate extremely rarely in 1.17, so your best bet is to bone meal a moss block to get the majority of these items. You can find moss blocks in the shipwrecks around your world. Lush cave biomes are extremely rare, like even over this entire massive area. On a 40 chunk render distance, there is not a single lush cave in sight. Once you have a single moss block, it's pretty easy to get the rest of the items. Simply bone meal that, it'll turn any of the grass blocks and a variety of other blocks in the area into other moss blocks. It'll also generate the moss carpets, the flowering, and the normal azalea. You can then bone meal the azalea, and that'll give you an azalea tree. Break the leaves either with silk touch, shears, or a hoe, and that is how you get the leaves. You'll get 1 rooted dirt underneath every single azalea tree that you grow, and if you right click that rooted dirt with a hoe, that'll give you 1 of the hanging root items and just 1 standard dirt block. However, that's not really what you want to do. You can bone meal these things, and that'll give you 1 hanging root for every single bone meal, and it doesn't waste any bone meal either. So you can basically just kind of automate this super easily. You can also buy 2 rooted dirt from the wandering trader, although this isn't really a great way of getting it since you only get about 10 per wandering trader, and it's not a guaranteed trade either. Eventually, I think they should add a crafting recipe for this. It should probably be like 2 dirt and 2 hanging roots. However, we don't have a recipe for it at the moment, and it doesn't really make sense. Come on, Mojang, give us a recipe for it. It's such a nice block. Glowberries can also be found inside of mineshaft loot chests as well. You can find glow lichen all over your Minecraft world. It's sprinkled basically everywhere, and you're just gonna find tons of it. So you need to use shears or silk touch to harvest these things, and then of course they are renewable, so you can just bone meal them, and they will bone meal into a random cardinal direction. Once they have 1 to every possible direction, you can't bone meal it any further, so it kind of prevents you from wasting a bone meal in that way. Honestly, really convenient and pretty easy to automate. You can also get the small drip leaf and the big drip leaf from the wandering trader as well. As you can see, you can buy 2 of them for 1 emerald, and that means that you can get a total of about 10 per wandering trader. So these things need to be planted underwater or on clay blocks, and then if you bone meal those guys, you'll get the big drip leaf. So you can bone meal those basically as much as you want to, and if you break that, then you get 1 big drip leaf block for every block that you bone mealed it. It's honestly pretty cool, and it's a good way of getting these in your Minecraft world. And that leaves us with just 1 last item that we don't have a good way of getting, and that is the Spore Blossom. In theory, these will generate in your lush caves, but you are so very unlikely to find one of those in your world. You might just have to wait a couple of months or until 1.18 in order to get one of these. Honestly, they're not used for anything, but they are absolutely beautiful. They generate tons of particles, and they're just a super cool block. I wish we had a better way of getting these. Small correction to the beginning of this video. There's actually 103 items, blocks, and mobs in the 1.17 update because I forgot to add 2 things to this chest, the copper ingot and the amethyst shard. So this is the final list of items that you can see on screen here. Assuming that I haven't forgotten anything else, there are so many things in this update. But if I forgot anything, of course, let me know down in the comment section. And otherwise, I hope that you have enjoyed today's video, learned something new, and hopefully this video helps you get a ton of enjoyment out of the 1.17 Caves and Cliffs update. If you did enjoy this video, then of course make sure to leave a like as it helps out the video and the channel a ton. Maybe share it around with your friends, that way they can enjoy it too. And if you're new here, then consider subscribing to help us reach 400,000. Otherwise, I'll see you guys down in the comment section and in the next one. Thanks again for watching. And then there was silence.